Good evening. I'm Dick Stoner, president of Peerless Rockville. Welcome to the 2010 Peerless Rockville Awards ceremony. This marks the 31st year that Peerless has presented awards to groups, organizations, and individuals who preserve and enhance Rockville's architectural character and heritage. We're honored to welcome all of you. I'd like to point out our state senator, Jenny Forehand, who is nice enough to be here. And I think from the Rockville City Council, Mark Priscilla. Any Peerless board members who are here tonight, please stand. Well, I'm here. John's here. And I know Mary's here, so and Lauren, so thanks to everyone from within Peerless for being here. Also thanks to members of the awards committee who went through all the effort to sort out all the great properties in Rockville and to decide projects and properties that were worthy of the awards. So if you're on the awards committee, please stand up. Okay, tonight we celebrate historic preservation in our community. We also gather in honor of Arthur Wagman, who contributed so much to the founding and the success of Peerless Rockville. Arthur was a founding member, and the first meeting was held in his home in 1974, the same year I was graduating from high school, I think. Arthur served as attorney for Peerless Rockville for 30 years. And in 2001, he helped establish the Wagman Award for Historic Preservation Communication to honor educators, artists, and writers who helped contribute to our city's heritage and culture. His vision and leadership helped guide Peerless for more than 3 decades and continue to help us sustain the mission. We're honored to welcome his wife, Lynn, who Arthur may have called his better half. And we all celebrate Arthur's legacy. Thanks for being here, Lynn. I'd also like to remind and encourage people to attend some upcoming events. My favorite, this is not a Peerless event, but a city event this Saturday is the car show over at Rockville Mansion. And we'll have some interesting ones there, and there'll be cemetery tours at the adjoining Rockville Cemetery. So look for some extra tables and information, and if anyone can find Walter Johnson's grave, we'll have a prize for them. Volunteer Day is also a week from Saturday, the 23rd. Peerless Rockville is working on the Baptist Cemetery. We welcome any and all that can show up to help with that effort. And on Halloween weekend, there's a special tour that's called Death and Dying. And I'll let you go to the Peerless website for more info on that. But it's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for the evening, Robin Zeke, who is preservation planner for the city. Robin works with property owners and developers to maintain Rockville's historic buildings and to ensure the continued use of local historic resources. In addition to an MA in art, history, and archaeology, Robin earned a master's degree in architecture and previously worked as a preservation planner for the Maryland Historical Trust. Correct? Her noteworthy projects include documentation of the Canada Dry bottling plant in Silver Spring, research on residential and commercial properties in Montgomery County, and architectural documentation of archaeological sites in Israel and Jordan. Robin's talk this evening is entitled Twists and Turns of History.
Hi, good evening. Well, thank you, Dick. It's nice to be here. I am here every month with the Historic District Commission, and you are all invited to watch us on Channel 11, where we're all stars. But tonight, it's the twists and turns in history. I want to talk about the development of Rockville Park. The city's prepared a National Register nomination for just the subdivision of Rockville Park. We have done a notification processed throughout the city. We're sending it into the state next week. So we're very excited about that. And so sort of just to publicize that and let you all know about this wonderful part of your city's history, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rockville Park. Rockville Park is the very first subdivision on the east side of the B&O Railroad tracks. And it's located on the south side of Baltimore Road and was specifically there because of the B&O Railroad Station. One of the things that is very easy to see from an aerial photograph, which I'm showing here, on the left side is 19th century development, and I'm focusing on Rockville Park in the center. And on the right-hand side is 20th century development. There's not a good or a bad here. It's just that they are very definitely different. Lot sizes become very regularized. House types become very regularized in 20th century. 19th century is really notable for its variety. So with Rockville Park, what I would like to get at is a story and a possible explanation for why does Rockville Park look the way it does. And in particular, what kind of got this started was the concept. Everybody has a very rich appreciation of West End Park with our wonderful Victorians along West Montgomery Avenue, and they're completely wonderful. And the wonderful aspects of East Rockville, and specifically Rockville Park, sometimes I haven't gotten the notice that they deserve. So I was looking for an explanation because they both have the fundamental origins are exactly the same. So why do they look different? So I think there's two aspects that I think are important. I'll get back to that later. Keep that sort of in the back of your mind. But back to the story of Rockville Park. I think there's two main aspects that I wanted to talk about tonight. Of course, you know when you're in love with a topic, you can talk forever, and I can't tonight, so I'm going to talk about basically two different things. One is that Rockville Park developed the way it did in large part in response to national history. The events that we're going through nowadays with the mortgage problems, defaults on loans, house loss, all of that banking problems, all of that happened in the 19th century. And specifically, there were two major panics 20 years apart. In 1873, there was a panic that was all based on overspeculation on railroads. And in 1893, there was panic based on overspeculation in real estate and with banking problems. So that's one of the aspects of Rockville Park history. And the other is that we have some really colorful characters. William Redding, Washington Danenauer, excuse me, I'm incorrect. It's Washington Danenauer and Joseph Redding, and I'll talk about each one of those. The broader context is something I think we're all familiar of with 19th century suburban development that was in part an outgrowth of the development of the railroads and the ready accessibility of beautiful countryside outside of our cities to the city population, and all of a sudden people were going to get out of the city and move out to the glorious countryside. Just a couple examples. Riverside in Illinois is maybe the very first one, 1869. And Tuxedo Park, which is exactly the same era as Rockville Park, is another very famous suburb in New York. It begun in 1885. So let's talk about some of our characters. William Redding. He's a completely 19th century person, born in 1822, died in 1897. He is from New Jersey, from a very eminent family, and actually made a lot of money. He's the inventor of the first power corn sheller. And you have to put it in the context again of the 19th century with all these incredible inventions and how dynamic our economy was at the time. He also patented agricultural drain tile. I mean, none of this stuff is, what you typically think, but these were very, very useful items, and he made a fortune with them. And he was also active in the coal and lumber business. So when he moved down to Washington, he purchased land along the C&O Canal. and knowing that he'd be able to use the canal for his coal and lumber business. And he actually owned the property that where Glen Echo is now. And one of the houses he built is still standing in Glen Echo on Wellesley Circle. But in 1883, William Redding moved to Rockville. And he purchased all the land that we now know as Croydon Park. And he actually purchased an existing house, the old John Brewer house. And John Brewer was somebody who has a lengthy history here in Rockville. Redding buys that house, that property, and he also buys Dr. Stonestreet's farm on the south side of Baltimore Road. And that's the acreage that he develops as Rockville Park. I also want you to know this weekend when you get a cemetery tour, William Redding and Joseph Redding are both buried in Rockville Cemetery. So I hope that'll be on your tour as well. Anyway, the nice thing about the Croydon Park map when it was platted in 1924 is you can see where the house was. And the house, which we have a photograph compliments of Peerless Rockville, was still standing up until, I believe, until the metro came in. And the house location is on the highest point in Croydon Street, Croydon Avenue? Croydon Street. And pretty much in the middle of our street of the redeveloped Stone Street. So the house is gone. Our second character is Washington Danenauer. And Washington Danenauer is somebody that I think somebody ought to write a book about. He is a second generation. He's Redding's son's generation. And his family moved from Chicago as part of the move to Washington, and Dad gets a job. But they were very high up in the government, and the father died, but the family continued to live here. His brother, and the photographs you have are actually of his brother, who was world famous for an Arctic expedition, where 33 people set out on this in the middle of the winter in the Arctic. I don't know why people do that. And the ship sank, and 13 people made it back, and Lieutenant Danenauer, John Danenauer, was really instrumental in getting everybody back, and he was world famous. And the family, of course, is proud of that. Washington Danenauer's wife was Fanny Smoot. She's from the Smoot family in Alexandria, Smoot Lumber, if anybody knows. Again, very eminent family. Fanny's dad builds them a house after they get married in 1883 on G Street, just west of the White House. So Danenauer is just moving in the top political circles of the day. He is a flash in the pan, or however they say that. I want you to note, by 1902, this gentleman has been to court, his wife has divorced him, and he's moved to Knoxville, Tennessee. But while he is here, he is amazing. Well, first of all, the wedding in 1883, wedding of the season, and one of the congratulatory messages that they received said, just a few things, said, Vesperian salutation, electrical congratulations, elongated embracings, osculatory concussions. Who knows what they mean? Some people are very happy these people are getting married. But just a little bit about his business. He's very ambitious. He was a prominent real estate agent and an insurance broker. He shows up in the Post with full-page ads every week. He modernizes, quote, the famous chain building, and I have to find that, on H Street as the Fredonia, a first-class family hotel on H Street. That's 1889. He's doing a large amount of building in the northeast of Capitol Hill in 1889. And in 1890, he develops Rockville Park in April, Riversdale Park in May, Spring Lake Park in September, and Buchanan, Virginia in October. This guy's busy. We'll get back to him a little bit more, but our last character is Joseph Redding. He was a mayor of Rockville, and in fact, he ran on the waterworks ticket. And so he was the mayor who finally pushed through the financing, so we have our first public water system and the pump house. And the pump house, of course, is being almost completed in its renovation. The city is going to love it, continue to use it. And Joseph Redding is one of the prime instigators and reasons why we have it. He was a character, but he was completely dedicated to Rockville and public life the way I see it. Well, he was a drugstore owner. We know that. He was a mayor. He was a justice of the peace. He was a judge of the Montgomery County Police Court. And ever after, people referred to him as Judge Joseph Redding. He was a coroner. He was a postmaster. And then he also served in some, the Knights Templars and the worship, he was acting worshipful master of the Masons. So he's William Redding's son, and he continues to work in real estate following what his father had done. And now we get to the first subdivision of Rockville Park, which was recorded in 1888. And you see when it was recorded, there were already a few houses. I believe this was actually drawn up around 1884. And William Redding sold a few lots by deed, and then he platted his subdivision, 53 lots, and the streets were named after family members. He tried to rename Baltimore Road John Street because I think that was his father or grandfather, but it didn't catch. But some of the others, Joseph is his family, Grandin was his mother's maiden name, things like that. This next map just shows how many houses were built when it was considered Reddington. William Redding's first addition to Rockville was also known as Reddington. And there weren't very many, and I think that you'll see that that's basically the history of Rockville Park, that there's a very slow, steady development going on. 1890, William Redding sells, he hasn't sold very many properties. I think there were 6 total, and out of the 53 lots that he platted. So in 1890, he sells the land to Washington Danenauer. Danenauer is a real smoothie. He buys this property for $1,000 down. And then the way it works is that every time he sells a certain amount, he gives money to William Redding, and William Redding releases the lien. And so it's not exactly a shell game, but Washington Danenauer, that's how he did business and how he could do business. He recorded the plat in 1890, and you'll see one of the remarkable changes is all of a sudden there are 210 lots. Although some advertisements I see the number is 213 or 215, but it's way doubled and tripled and quadrupled from 53 lots. I think this is a remarkable moment because, and I think this is a generational thing, and this is one of the reasons Rockville Park is important, because the way of platting suburbia when William Redding's generation was doing it was focused at a wealthy class. There were larger lots. They expected there would be larger homes. And then with Washington Danenauer's generation, all of a sudden the switch is to the middle class. By this time, his advertisements, and I have his Washington Post advertisement on the back there if anybody wants it. The whole comment is, hey, any of you can buy land here. And the way he does it is by having so many lots, and depending upon how much money you have, you'll buy one lot for investment. Nobody ever built on only one lot. They're only 25 feet wide. But plenty of people bought 2 lots to build on 2, or they could buy 3, 4, 5, or whatever. And if you bought it for investment, you wouldn't even buy contiguous lots. You could just go 1 from this block, 2 on this block. It didn't matter. 75% of the people were in Washington, D.C. residents. And in a later ad, I'll show you for Spring Lake Park, Washington Danenauer touts that most people never even came to Rockville to look at it. It's clearly investment. It's clearly land speculation. So this is the advertisement for Rockville Park, $150 for a lot, uniform price. It didn't matter where it was. That got you a 25 by, 80, 100, basically 5,000 square foot lot, but $5 down. So here he is being the banker and providing private mortgages. He's selling it. It's really nice. He says, here the department clerk may own his cottage and have his own garden, raise fowl or flowers or any of his pet hobbies. His wife and children are far away from the dangerous and disagreeable heat of the city, breathing pure air and enjoying the lovely country. Part of the ad also is the proximity to the B&O Railroad Station, which, of course, it's a beautiful building right near the tracks, of course. He says it's Rockville Park is in Rockville, right at the depot, yet considerably above the grade of the railroad. Covers the crest of the most elevated plateau in the neighborhood and commands extensive views on all sides. Following that, and the sale, everything sold within a day. I have just another announcement. Washington Danenauer is announcing sale of his development in Riversdale Park. He actually rented a train and ran trains out from Washington so people could go out there to see. Lots are selling rapidly, many to be improved immediately. Thousands have visited the past week, and all are delighted. The advertisement for Spring Lake Park is very, very similar to Rockville Park. Of course, Spring Lake Park is just south of Rockville Park along the B&O Railroad, sort of in the Halpine area, sort of around there. It says it's located on one of the prettiest elevation plateaus on the metropolitan branch of the B&O Railroad. My success in handling Rockville Park subdivisions demonstrates the fact that my representations as to properties and prospective improvements are sufficient guarantees. He's running, going trains down to Buchanan, Virginia. It's actually rather far from Washington. And Danenauer, as I say, he is quite a character. He was very active politically, getting support for the railroads, as he knew every time a railroad line goes through, he's just building value along those lines for development. He organizes the Washington Ricinato fireproofing company. Again, fireproofing is one of these things that's starting to really play into people's the need for, and he's going to supply that. And then, 1898, there's a notice that he's going to close his real estate office and focus on the Chesapeake Beach Railway Company for the development of the town of Chesapeake Beach. So it's always the same way of operating, and it's always it's been pretty successful. I just wanted to highlight some other things he said about in the Spring Lake Park advertisement. He says Rockville Park is a success. Spring Lake Park is just as good, and we have put prices low enough to allow investors a splendid margin to buy and hold. And actually, that is what a lot of people did, because what we found is that a lot of times people with one lot that can't build on it, it would be passed in there to their heirs. People would just hold on to it. It never really made them money. It passed on to their heirs. And so maybe he was thinking long-term for other people. Investment in the future. We have this wonderful, wonderful map called the Father Neef Map, 1890, prepared to show where all of these little subdivisions are popping up along the B&O Railroad. And I just think the map is great because it really gives you a sense that what you've got is farmland, and then all of a sudden you'll have this tight little development with all the little streets platted, and everything else is farm and forest around it. Okay, then I've got another map. Again, I tracked the development of Rockville Park over time. In this second map, you can see the houses in the darker color were here with under William Redding, and then there's just a few more built while Danenauer owned the property. And after the panic in 1893, what happens is that William Redding is living across the street in what we think of as Croydon Park, but he's living on his estate, looking across to this development that's developing very, very slowly. Think Chestnut Lodge or something like that, where, you know, the streets are in, but the houses aren't there. Maybe trees have been cut down. William Redding steps in, and when properties go on the market, he buys them back. So he ends up buying back about a third of the lots. And I have to say, Joseph Redding continues doing that. And this next, here's Joseph Redding, my favorite person, the judge who will revive the whipping post. Judge Joseph Redding of Rockville, Maryland, who declares the next wife beater brought before him and convicted will be flogged soundly. Anyway, there's Joseph Redding doing, again, also multiple businesses, but real estate is one of them, and he inherits all the Rockville Park lots from his father. And when things come up on sale at the foreclosures, at the courtyard, the court, he'll buy them. And then periodically he mortgages one, and you know, I get the sense that he's using that to maybe build a house here, maybe build a house there. He pays off his mortgage, gets the land back, and then he can do it again later. So one of my questions was, why did Rockville Park develop as it did? One of my answers is it happened because the Reddings lived in Rockville and continued to be invested in the community and continued to hold control of this property that was across from their house. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why it developed so slowly, because the property never came back on the market until Joseph Redding was prepared to sell a lot here, sell a lot there. He eventually subdivided his whole Croydon Park property in 1924. I think he moved down to Chevy Chase to live with a son. So he moved out of Rockville. His last sale is in the late 1920s, when he's the last sale of property in Rockville. And I think that that is also one of the reasons why Rockville Park developed differently than West End Park. Because when the developer of West End Park, now this is a theory and it will have to be proven, but I'm proposing it as an explanation, that when Kopp who was the developer of West End Park with this brilliant, gorgeous development, when he went bankrupt, the property came on the market and was purchased, and things could then flow. And houses could be built, all within a certain period of time. But I believe that's not what happened in East Rockville. So what happened in East Rockville is our slow development over time. And you can see in this map, I've just charted the decades. And every decade, there's approximately 10 houses being built. And it's just filling in as people are selling off side lots. Somebody who lived on one street may have owned the back lots that fronted on another street, and when they changed, they may finally have sold off those back lots, you know, things like that. And that's why Rockville Park is very, very special, because you can go to a 4-block area and get a complete tour of late 19th and early 20th century up through mid-20th century architecture. And I just have a sample here through the decades of the houses as they change in their styles. And then in the very last slide, it's just a continuation, decade by decade, right up to a wonderful split level on Reading. And the houses are marvelous. The community is gorgeous. And I think I answered some questions, and I know there's more. Anyway, thank you.
Robin, thanks for your insight, particularly on local lending and local developers, and some of those things I think are very timely right now. And thanks also for the info. 212 Reading Avenue is a home that I managed, a rental property for people overseas, and it's what led me to Peerless, because while crawling underneath one day, we found some old jars, and I thought, there's a place in Rockville that needs these things. So anyway, thanks a lot for your great information and great report. I'm looking for John Hall somewhere. This year's Peerless Awards honor achievement in preservation, new construction, renovation, and heritage education in our community, among other categories of award-winning projects. We're delighted that John Hall is with us to present the awards this evening. John is known in Rockville as a former member of the City Council and was once described as the epitome of a citizen legislator. There you have it. Known for his conscientious public service and droll sense of humor, John keeps us all smiling at Peerless, where he serves on the board of directors and is listed among his board qualifications, a strong back and a willing spirit. Those are very true and accurate. Please give a hearty welcome to John F. Hall, Jr.
Thank you, sir. Robin, thanks for that presentation. That was just superb. And Jenny and Mark, also want to thank you both for coming out tonight. I was not aware that this was going to be a televised affair, so there's an awful lot of this that we can't use. You can't even say that on cable. So this will be a lot shorter, at least. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to essentially present the awards with Dick and some other guest presenters. We'll start off with our first award, which is an award to Jeff Broadhurst and John Tessitore for an addition to residence at 313 Twinbrook Parkway, which some people in Peerless may be familiar with. In 2006, Max and Mary Van Valgui hired Rockville architect Jeffrey Broadhurst and builder John Tessitore to design a rear addition for their 1960 split-level Twinbrook house. Project objectives included additional living space, access to the outside, improved internal circulation and illumination, and an attractive exterior appearance. The result is an addition that is compatible with and yet distinct from the 1960 residence. The scale, massing, and open plan are in keeping with the architectural character of the house, emphasizing and updating the modern aesthetic with the nearly transparent wall of 3 French doors and a band of horizontal windows. A 2-story tower at the northeast corner anchors the design, unifying the transition from the side to the back of the house. The exterior has a stucco finish, painted terracotta red, and a large open deck. Energy-saving features and handmade decorative elements are integral to the project. Peerless Rockville is delighted to present a 2010 Preservation Award to architect Jeffrey Broadhurst and builder and contractor John Tessitore for an ingenious and well-crafted, compatible addition to a mid-century modern house. And I'd also like to invite Mary to come up and join us for this as well. That's yours. Thank you very much. Please do, please do.
I just want to say that what Jeff came up with for our house was just incredible. I thought that you couldn't do anything more than to follow the same addition that we had on the back of the house, but Jeff came through with an absolutely wonderful design, and I think Max and I spend most of our times now in the back room and don't use the rest of the house. So, and I'd also like to compliment, of course, John Tessitore. He was a great contractor to work with. He kept us up to date on everything that was going on, and it's just been a joy to see this actually happen and get done on time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks, gentlemen. Our next presentation is for some community park projects. And that's something that's really important to all of us here in Rockville. Rockville's fortunate to have more than 60 parks and outdoor areas, including 2 new parks for families, joggers, bikers, and nature lovers of all ages. Falls Grove Park is a new 6-acre facility adjacent to the Thomas Farm Community Center. College Gardens Park was built in the early 1960s and was recently renovated to meet environmental and safety standards. Both projects are the result of a model city program that incorporates input and participation from community groups in the design, planning, and construction processes. Both projects also serve as outstanding models for private-public collaboration and community recreation programming. The College Gardens Park project entailed a 10-year process to redesign the 6-acre park, expand the existing farm pond into a functional stormwater management facility, and renovate the park's natural and man-made features. Falls Grove Park provides a wide range of outdoor activities and is the entry and endpoint to the city's 10-mile Millennium Trail. In addition to a multi-purpose sports field and fitness cluster, Falls Grove Park has a community garden plot, a feature requested by residents and civic groups, and also one that I'm sure will, among many others, be a fitting tribute to our friend Carl Henn. For this activity, the city's Department of Public Works and Department of Parks and Recreation work closely with neighborhood groups to survey needs, establish priorities, elicit concepts and ideas, and get feedback from the community to ensure a high level of civic participation. Both projects represent a high level of dedication and cooperation by city staff and neighborhood groups and individuals. For this, Peerless is pleased to present 2010 Preservation Awards to the City of Rockville's Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of Public Works, representatives from the College Gardens Task Force and the Falls Grove community, and the design professionals who worked on these projects. And if you'll come up when I call your name, please. Bert Hall is the Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation for the City of Rockville. Craig Simoneau is the Director for the Department of Public Works. Lee Suckup is the College Gardens Park Project Manager. James Fetchu is a representative of Charles P. Johnson Associates. Timothy Schuler is a representative of McKim and Creed. And John Slater is a representative of Slater and Associates. And for the community participants that assisted in this effort, I'd like to call up Council Member Mark Pershala and Paul O'Brien of College Gardens Task Force for this activity. Welcome. Aaron and Jason, are we taking pictures? Or you want to say something?
I just want to say a few words.
I don't, you know, somehow I should have known that.
Well, I think it's very appropriate Paul O'Brien's here from the community because he was, along with some of the city staff, really there for the whole 10 years. And it was a very controversial project, actually, in College Gardens, but we got through it, and it's an incredibly successful park, as well as an incredibly successful stormwater management facility. And I want to thank the city staff and the neighbors. I think probably 15 to 20 neighbors stuck with the process for years and finally got it going. And it came online not quite a year ago, did it? Or just this past year, and it's just a wonderful project. So thank you very much.
Thanks. Aaron and Jason Anthony are the owners of a new home at 106 Lynch Street in Rockville's West End. It's a modest mid-century house was demolished to make way for the new structure, something that doesn't always sit well with residents and preservationists alike. And although Peerless discourages teardowns and mansionizations, Potomac builder Christopher Conlon constructed the new house with sensitivity and finesse, integrating it within the scale and architectural character of the surrounding area. Traditional in style and decorative details, 106 Lynch Street is situated comfortably on its site. The gabled facade features a welcoming front porch entry, and the interior is versatile and spacious, with well-proportioned rooms and modern energy-efficient materials. Peerless Rockville is pleased to present a 2010 Preservation Award to Chris Conlon of Conlon Construction Company for a handsome new house that is compatible with the residential scale and eclectic character of the West End neighborhood. And I also would like to invite homeowners Jason and Aaron Anthony to come up to the podium as well. Thank you all very much, sir. Thank you. Hey, our next one is someone who will be familiar to folks who have been up to the Belle Dawson House anytime in the last, 10 years or so. Clarence Hickey, an interpretive docent with the Montgomery County Historical Society, is well known for his portrayals of Dr. Edward E. Stonestreet, who practiced medicine in Rockville for 51 years and was a Civil War surgeon with the Union Army. Mr. Hickey's latest achievement is the publication of a 2009 biography, Send for the Doctor, The Life and Times of Dr. Edward E. Stonestreet, 19th century physician and Civil War surgeon. Using a variety of primary sources, archival photographs, and other materials, Mr. Hickey has written a well-researched biography of the prominent physician and his times. Of special interest is a chapter on Dr. Stonestreet's medical care of the Farquhar family and their farmhands from 1868 to 1889. Using information from the Farquhar's diaries, Mr. Hickey provides a compelling portrait of medical care in the late 19th century and the relationship between doctor and patient over an extended period of time. The Life and Times of Dr. Edward E. Stonestreet is a welcome addition to the growing body of specialized knowledge of local and county history. It enlarges public understanding of the 19th century medical world and changes in the medical profession. Peerless Rockville is very pleased to present the 2010 Peerless Rockville Award to Clarence Hickey for his outstanding research and for his dedication to the ongoing pursuit of documenting local history. I'm recognizing out of you.
Yeah,
Please.
Thank you.
Politicians can't have all the fun.
Politicians can't have all the fun. Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you for this honor. It has been a labor of love for me to do this, and it's been an honor and a privilege to portray this wonderful person and to do it here in Rockville with the Montgomery County Historical Society and Peerless. Now, I just scratched a few notes here. As I look around the room, there are many people here tonight who actually helped me. This was a real community effort for me in finding information and turning to people locally here who knew that and could help me. The Montgomery County Historical Society is here tonight, and I thank Debbie and Paul and Beth and many other people. Karen Lottis was in here a few minutes ago. And Peerless helped me open the files in the archives for me to research local history and to have Dr. Linthicum's file and Dr. Stonestreet's file. Mary helped with that, and Maisie when she was there, and Eileen when she was there, and it was really a wonderful thing. And then at a history conference a couple of years ago, I sat with Robin Zeke at lunch, and we were talking about this book that I was writing, and she said, "Well, have you seen the old Washington Post?" I said, "Well, no, I haven't." And She said, "Do you have a library card?" I said, "Well, sure." And she explained that to me. And after going online with my library card and then going to Baltimore and signing in there with my library card, I have access to Washington Post, Baltimore Sun, Chicago Tribune, the New York Times, going way back into the 1800s, and it changed my whole focus and helped me to do this. And I appreciate everyone's help. It was a team effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for your contribution. A Pair of Jacks, Two Rockville Architects, is a 22-minute multimedia video co-produced by Bridget Boyer, Aaron Dawkins, and Anthony Playa for Rockville Channel 11, the city's cable television channel. Originally broadcast in February of 2009, this video has been aired continuously since that time and is considered one of Channel 11's most outstanding programs. The video combines interviews and narrative commentary, archival photographs and film, architectural drawings and maps, and other documentary resources pertaining to Rockville's mid-century architecture and development. It features the work of two retired architects, John S. Jack Samperton and John H. Jack Sullivan. Their memories and experiences document a critical period in local history, exploring the ways in which post-war buildings were planned, designed, constructed, and used. Ms. Breuer and her colleagues employ a variety of techniques in media to establish a historical context and evoke a distinct time and place, inviting the viewers to connect with the past and present in new and provocative ways. Peerless Rockville is pleased to present a 2010 Preservation Award to Bridget Breuer, Aaron Dawkins, who I understand is not here tonight, and Anthony Playa of Rockville Channel 11 for an outstanding, informative, and entertaining documentary video. We'd also like to invite John Sullivan and John Samperton, if they're here as well, to come up and be recognized. Of course.
Okay.
I think anybody would.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much. We're so honored to receive this award, and we could not have done this without Peerless Rockville, without Mary, without Terry. We learned so much about the two Jacks, and we were so happy to tell their story. The show can be viewed on demand on the city's website, and we do air it a lot still on the channel. And this program tonight will be on demand also as well. But thank you so much. We're so honored.
Built in 1869, Rockville United Methodist Church occupies a special place in local history. As part of UMC's 150th anniversary commemoration, the congregation recently undertook extensive modernization of the interior infrastructure and restoration of exterior features. The ambitious $1.8 million building project was scheduled around the activities of a very busy and well-used church facility and was completed in May 2010. Improvements included asbestos removal, always a good thing, new electrical and HVAC systems, and installation of energy-efficient lighting, among other projects. The church's magnificent stained glass windows were repaired and cleaned, exterior wooden doorways were refinished, masonry repointed, exterior stonework was pressure washed, and copper gutters were repaired or replaced as needed. Under the leadership of Jerry Carter, and of the Board of Trustees, and former pastor Kay Barger, the UMC Board of Trustees and congregation have demonstrated outstanding commitment to the mission and future of their church as a house of worship, a venue for community activities, and a cherished historic landmark here in the city. Peerless Rockville is particularly honored to present a 2010 Preservation Award for this outstanding renovation project and for UMC's abiding stewardship of a critical historic property. I'd like to ask Jerry Carter and Reverend Barger to come up.
All I can say is I'm honored to be able to accept this for the membership of the church, past and present.
The United States Pharmacopoeia is a non-governmental public agency that sets standards for U.S. healthcare products and medications. Established in 1820, USP, as it's known, has helped ensure public health and safety throughout the world for nearly 200 years. USP's global headquarters has been located on Twinbrook Parkway in Rockville since 1989. Construction of a new 156,000 square foot headquarters building designed by Helmuth, Obata, and Kassabaum architects was completed in 2008 and incorporated an existing building into the design to contain costs and reduce unnecessary disposal of useful materials. USP's new headquarters is a handsome addition to Twinbrook's evolving streetscape. A sweeping curved facade houses conference and meeting facilities, executive office suites, laboratory space, and a multilingual customer service center. A large world map on the exterior signals USP's global presence and international scope of activities. A dramatic interior courtyard offers outdoor space for employees and visitors and affords views of the building's complex architectural forms. Seasonal plantings, landscaping, sidewalks, and driveways were designed to enhance the transition from building to street grid. The new building also uses multiple green efficiencies to reduce energy consumption and minimize the carbon footprint. A green roof, energy-efficient lighting, and HVAC systems, and use of recycled materials are consistent with LEED requirements. Peerless Rockville is therefore honored to present a 2010 Preservation Awards to U.S. Pharmacopoeia and HOK Architects for the outstanding architectural design and energy-efficient construction of the new USP headquarters. I'd like to invite Shar Watt and Francine Pearson, who represent U.S. Pharmacopoeia and HOK Architects, to come up and receive the award. Thank you. Rockville resident Herb Winkler is a professor of mathematics at Montgomery College and an ardent proponent of environmentalism and the green energy movement. He practices energy conservation in his own life and advocates for increased public awareness of existing and emerging conservation technologies. Mr. Winkler is active in conservation outreach and community education. He's given presentations on solar and thermal energy, has made information on tax incentives available to residents in Rockville reports and at events at Peerless Rockville and at the Rockville Unitarian Church. He's also given presentations at several local public schools, and he's preparing a special program on green energy at the request of officials at Bell Elementary School. This program for school children will be held during the coming year. These and other conservation-oriented initiatives are part of Mr. Winkler's commitment, both personal and civic, to responsible energy use. Peerless Rockville is honored to present a 2010 Preservation Award to Herb Winkler for community leadership and education. Professor Winkler, there you go. Thank you very much.
So my dad's dedication to the environment has definitely been something spectacular. He's been getting people involved in solar panels for a really long time now. And so, yeah, congratulations, Dad.
Very nice.
But you didn't get one on the White House. I know. I think I'm suffering an osculatory concussion. Where's Robin? Gotta have one of those at your wedding. This next award is one that's particularly close to all of us who are Peerless members, to all of us who are members of the Rockville community. This next award is the Arthur Wagman Award, and I'd like to invite Lynn Wagman up here to join me for the presentation. Founded in 1996, the F. Scott Fitzgerald Literary Conference has established itself as a signature event in Rockville and has become an important part of our city's cultural heritage. For the past 15 years, the conference has brought many of America's foremost writers to Rockville to read from their works and share their insights, memories, and experiences. William Styron, John Updike, Ernest Gaines, Grace Paley, Jane Smiley, Norman Mailer, Edward Albee. I was here for almost all of these. These are among the great writers who have made the conference a successful and highly respected annual event, and it truly is. The conference has also given local writers important opportunities to showcase their work, exchange ideas, share resources, and participate actively in the life of the writing community. The conference has been fortunate to have outstanding leadership and institutional sponsorship. Arthur Wagman was a founding member along with John Mosier, who I think is still here, who has served as chairman of the conference. Don Bobel, Jackson Breyer, Eileen McGuckian, and Dorothy Schmiedler. Peerless also acknowledges the individuals and institutions which have helped make the conference a tremendous success. Dean Carolyn Terry of Montgomery College, which has hosted the conference at the Rockville campus since 1996. Betty Wisda from the city of Rockville, who I haven't seen tonight. Judy Hrues, editor of the Gazette newspapers. The Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County, and Peerless Rockville. Peerless Rockville is honored to present the 2010 Wagman Award to the F. Scott Fitzgerald Literary Conference for its outstanding contributions to Rockville's cultural heritage and for fostering achievement in literary excellence. Lynn, of course, is here. I'd like to ask John Mosier to come up, Don Bobel, Jackson Breyer. I haven't seen Judy. Eileen, for sure, I saw back there. Dorothy Schmiedler, and Carolyn Terry. And I didn't see Betty. Yeah. Lynn, would you like to say it, or Don? Yeah, I'd like to say it. Okay.
Why not? I always say something. We're really honored that we're getting this award. It was completely unexpected. I mean, I've known about it for a couple of months, but nonetheless, it was completely unexpected. Dick, I just want to say I was interested when you announced all the things that were going to happen in Rockville. You conveniently forgot the F. Scott Fitzgerald Literary Conference, which goes on Saturday at the college from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. And this year we're having Alice McDermott as our honoree. So you all come. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I just want to say Arthur would be very, very happy, and thank all of you for all of your hard work over the years, and especially John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Let's see. Turn to Dick and stop talking, please. Boy, are we sorry we asked you to do this. You sob. What's a sob? Anyway, thank you all very much for allowing me to be your special presenter, and thanks again to everyone for all of your outstanding work in making Rockville a truly meaningful place and the contributions that you've all made. So, really appreciate it.
I'm supposed to say thanks to Robin, but I think she's left the room, and after that, I think you've had enough thanks, John. Well, see, thanks everyone again. Thanks for coming this evening. Thanks for all the great work you do and for being part of Peerless and engaging in the community in the city of Rockville. So, see you soon. Somebody left it.